Moving on to the AFC North, our final AFC division and our 25th to 32 team previews. It is the Baltimore Ravens here on bet.nola.com, powered by the Dattitude Podcast. I am Jim Derry and the Baltimore Ravens. Lamar Jackson finally got his contract that he wanted, $250 million. Everything all right now in Raven land? We can move on and not have to talk about this anymore. And the Ravens are just going to win the AFC North year after year. I don't know. He's got new weapons. They should be better, but how much better? That's the question. And that is a question we'll get to right after the intro. Well, it was a typical season for the Baltimore Ravens. You know, one of those seasons where they get themselves in contention, looks like they're going to be a team to beat, and then they just kind of fall apart. That's what happened last year. Jumped out to a 7-3 start. Looked like they were going to be world beaters, have a chance to be one of the best teams in the AFC. Didn't happen. Didn't help that the second consecutive season star quarterback, Lamar Jackson, wasn't able to play an entire season. Second straight year he played in just 12 games. And then after that, the long contract dispute. That could have had something to do with why he only played in 12 games, by the way. Could he have come back towards the end of the season? Maybe. Maybe not. 5 years, I said 250 million. I meant 260 million. And 135 of that is guaranteed. Not too bad. In those 12 games he played last year, passed for just 2,200 yards, basically 17 touchdowns, and had a completion rate that ranked 23rd among quarterbacks who played at least 11 games. 23rd. Not too good. He's going to have to improve on that. Coach John Harbaugh now going into his 16th season. Only 2 coaches in the NFL, I'm sure you can name them, Bill Belichick, Mike Tomlin, have more service to their team than John Harbaugh. This is a tough team to bet on. And again, I'm not getting to the end and I'm not making my predictions yet, but it's really a tough team to bet on. They're kind of the same thing every year. Even when they're in contention, I mean, they find ways not to win almost. And that's where they've been. Ever since they won the Super Bowl, when was that? I mean, when did the lights go out in New Orleans 10 years ago? It seems like it's been the same thing. Since Joe Flacco was a Baltimore Ravens quarterback. Look, maybe more than any other team in this tough division, which is maybe the toughest in football, the Ravens have to have a fast start. They need to send a statement to Cincinnati, who could be without Joe Burrow for a little while. They need to send a statement to Cleveland, who has visions of being relevant again with a full season of Deshaun Watson. That's going to be important for them. That's how they're going to get started. And they have upgraded their offense, at least in the sense to where they have a real receiving core. They have given Lamar Jackson some real weapons to throw to if they can remain healthy, like their quarterback, because they have had health issues there too. First-round pick of 2021, Rashad Bateman. He's only played in 18 games in 2 seasons, but he's shown flashes of greatness. And then there's the $15 million man, and that is Odell Beckham Jr. OBJ is a guy that hadn't played in 2 years and is now, what is he, 29, 30 years old? I mean, is he worth $15 million? Well, we're going to find out. Their first pick, the 22nd overall pick out of Boston College, Zay Flowers, he will also play an important role on this team. Right now slotted in as the number 3 receiver, but wouldn't be a surprise at all to see him move up the ranks. But again, Lamar Jackson has weapons to throw to this year, and that really could make all the difference because they're not the only receiving weapons he's got. He's got Mark Andrews back again, one of the top tight ends in the National Football League, especially when you're talking about receiving tight ends. When you're talking about fantasy football, Mark Andrews is going to be the 2nd or 3rd tight end taken. And don't forget about Isaiah Likely. He proved he could be a number 1 tight end. In fact, if he were on any other team, he might actually be a number 1 tight end. Isaiah Likely probably, let's say likely going to play a bigger role for the Ravens this year. Meanwhile, running back J.K. Dobbins is like a lot of these other Ravens. He's had health concerns in the past. He played just 8 games last year. Why do we think that's going to change? Who's his backup? His backup is Gus Edwards. He missed 2021 with an ACL injury, and that lingered. He played in just 9 games last season. Man, this team has had some injury issues, especially at the skill positions. And they have to wonder if they're the snake bit or if that's going to change anytime soon. But to me, my experience is if you've had injuries in the past, you're probably going to have injuries in the future. Can this defense get back to being one of the top 5 units in the league? They certainly took a big step forward. Third season under coordinator Mike McDonald. I think they were like 23rd or 24th in 2021. Took the next step, and you see the number on the screen here. They were, although they weren't very good against the pass, they were 9th overall. They have got to find a way to get better against the pass, especially when you're playing against the likes of Cincinnati and Cleveland, both the quarterbacks we talked about earlier who are ready to throw the ball. That leads us to the schedule. And you heard me when we talked about the intro, and we talked about this team starting fast. And they have a chance to do that. Starting off with Houston right off the bat at home, and they don't have any primetime games until November the 16th, which is kind of a surprise. Does that tell us the folks at ESPN, the folks at Amazon Prime, the folks at NBC don't have a lot of confidence in the Ravens, or did they just think that they're going to be better later on in the season? Either way, they really do have to start fast because the easiest part of the schedule, it says 15th toughest. That would be quite a break for Baltimore if they get to play Cincinnati without Joe Burrow. And that's a possibility. He'll probably be back by then, but that is definitely not a given. There is no given there. On September 17th, they'll be facing Cincinnati with or without Joe Burrow. September 24th, the next week, another noon game against Indianapolis before facing 2 road games, really 3, because they got to go to London to play Tennessee. So get a 4-2 start and get fired up, because then you got Detroit at Arizona before a tough little stretch of Seattle, Cleveland, Cincinnati, 3 straight home games. That first primetime game I was talking about, and then you go to L.A. To play the Chargers on a Sunday night for a very late bye week. And you see how it closes against the Rams, at Jacksonville, at San Francisco, Miami, and Pittsburgh. Here's one of these schedules. You know, we talk about it. These numbers don't always match up to what they are. To me, that schedule tells me that is not quite a 15th toughest schedule. That's more like 19, 20, somewhere in that ballpark. Again, because I think they can start fast. But if they don't start fast, or if they have injuries like they've been having, what are they going to be towards the end of the season when they're playing at Jacksonville, when they're playing at San Francisco, and when they're playing Miami at home? Pittsburgh, are they going to get themselves back in it? I don't know. Drum roll, please. Let's get to the prediction. Look, I got them going 10-7, and unlike the other divisions, I think this division is so tight that I'm not going to give anything away here. At least not yet. I do not want to give anything away because I think this is a 3-team race. I'm not going to even tell you who I think is going to be in last place, but you can probably figure it out. This is so close to, we showed you before that 9.5 is the over-under and it's juice to the over. You can't play it either way. No matter, unless you just think the Ravens are going to be gangbusters or you think they're going to stink. You just can't play the over-under for the Ravens, and I'm not even putting it on here. So what I do like, and I got them, again, right on the number. I got them at 10-7. I like the Lamar Jackson over passing yards. I am going to assume that Lamar Jackson is going to stay healthy. I know that is a huge assumption. But if he does, I think he blows past this number of 3,425 yards. He has just got weapons. He is not going to run the ball as much. He's not going to be able to help himself. His rushing numbers have already come down just a little bit in the 700s the last 2 seasons. Now, a lot of that was because he was injured, but still, when you look at yards per game rushing, it was around 62, which was down from 68 2 seasons ago, and 80 even before that. So I see that ticking down again. They want to keep Lamar Jackson healthy, which means he's going to pass the ball more, because I certainly don't trust J.K. Dobbins. I certainly don't trust Gus Edwards to lead this team. And the defense will be good enough. So that's my prediction. Nothing to really bet on, again, unless you like this over or under on Lamar Jackson. I do. What do we think about the Cincinnati Bengals? Well, they're coming up next, and they have some issues. Will it be enough to keep them out of first place? Well, I'm not going to tell you that just yet. You're going to have to come back later on this afternoon.